Hey everybody, welcome back. So today we got something a little bit different. This is Piper. She is our elderly miniature pinscher, and she is going to go head to head today with Tigger, our 15-foot, 65-pound male reticulated python. So you won't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back on Intrepid Exotics. Just a good girl. Whether you're a lifelong keeper or just getting started, help us encourage responsible keeping, conservation, and public education in the interest of keeping our reptiles safe and healthy as we protect them for future generations. You're invited to spend time with us as we experience these awesome animals together on Intrepid Exotics. Now we're down here with Piper's opponent. If you look, right down here on the bottom, this is Tigger. He is our male reticulated python. He's about 15 feet, about 65 pounds. And just for reference, the last meal that he ate was about a pound bigger than Piper was. So we're going to see how this plays out.
Let's get it on!
And today was an appropriate day to wear the My Pet Can Eat Your Pet shirt. Now for all you guys out there that thought I was going to be feeding my dog to that snake, you're crazy. Shame on you. That's not what we're doing today. They are going head to head, and it's a cost comparison. Now, I've seen a lot of stuff circulating lately. Topic of discussion seems to be, how expensive it is to keep our snakes and things like that, and how it's all cost prohibitive. Well, I thought this was a really good opportunity to make a little comparison between a little dog like that and a big snake. She weighs just a little bit less than the last rabbit that Tigger ate. So that should put things in a little bit of perspective. Now I want to go about addressing just some basic overall costs, comparing both of these animals and what it costs to keep that little 4 or 5 pound dog and what it costs to keep this 65 pound retic. Now, any of you guys that have dogs, you know how expensive dog food is to begin with. From a food comparison, it costs, for that little dog right there and the type of food that we give her, it costs about 12, 13 bucks a week, something like that. It costs about as much to feed that dog every week as it does to feed that snake every month. This animal back here, he eats roughly about once a month, and the rabbits that he eats are typically 5 to 6 pounds, and I can get them for $2 a pound, which means that it costs almost exactly for a month for him what it costs to feed that dog every week. And it also depends too. Sometimes he goes off of food for a couple months at a time. So we may go from spending $12 a month to feeding him to where if he goes 2-3 months without eating, that may drop down to like $3 a month or something. So from a food perspective, they are in no way cost prohibitive. Now, if you're one of those folks that's got 100 snakes, you're going to be paying a mortgage payment to feed all of these guys. Of course, the more animals we've got, the more it's going to cost to feed them. But a one-by-one comparison, if you've got one big retic, it's going to cost you more to feed a small dog. So, now from an overall care perspective, we're talking about, vet bills and things like that. Your dogs are going to cost you a whole lot more. Now, granted, you're going to have a lot harder time finding a vet that's going to be able to, take this animal in, have experience working with them and checking them and so forth. So you may have to drive a little bit further to find one. If you look at doing everything that the vet recommends for your dog, you're well up in a few hundreds of dollars every year, if not more. Vet visits with our reptiles is a little bit different. Now, you take them in, you get them a checkup, a couple $100 here and there, and as long as your husbandry's on point, as long as you're watching them for respiratory infections and things like that, even if they get mites, the mite treatment doesn't cost that much. So you may go in for an annual checkup with your animal and may not have to go back again for the rest of the year. So your veterinary costs alone are going to be far, far superior on your dogs than they're going to be on your reptiles. Now, it's not to say special circumstances can't happen, things like that. Your animals can't get really sick and require surgeries and things like that, which can jack things up. But just from a basic across-the-board care perspective, your vet bills are going to be a lot higher for your dog than they are for your snake. Now, when we talk about enclosures, and things like that, you've got a couple things that you're going to need, a couple different components to every enclosure that you're building. And that's going to be the material it's made of, whether you made it out of PVC or melamine, your doors, whether you're using tempered glass, plexiglass, things like that. You've got your heaters, water receptacles, and whatever you use for substrate. I use paper here. I can either use newspaper. I'll order some paper off Amazon every now and then, and I'll put the link down in the description below. Now, the enclosure on the top is a PVC enclosure that I ordered. This one, by the time I put the radiant heat panel in there, this one cost me with shipping $800-ish, something like that. The enclosure below there, the Tigger's in, that's built out of melamine, and it cost me less than $100 in melamine to build that. The doors that are on that are repurposed off of an aquarium. It was I think it was a 50-gallon aquarium, 4 foot long, and tempered glass. So I just built the enclosure around that. That didn't cost me anything. A radiant heat panel, 140, 160 bucks, something like that. So by the time we were all said and done with this, I spent maybe no more than $300 on this enclosure. And it's an 8x3, works just fine for him right now. Like I said, it's going to end up costing me a little bit more once I go and build that 12x4 enclosure for him. And I even like the melamine one that I built more than the PVC one that I bought, because as you can see, I've got the handles on it tied down, because that track on the bottom is not big enough to keep those doors in there. That snake can lift those doors off of those tracks and get out of there at will if I don't keep everything secured the way I do. I've got another one that I built for my female retic. Cost a little bit more because I had to actually buy the plexiglass for the doors. But if you can build your own enclosures, you're going to save yourself a ton of money. Now we're talking about care, the differences between that little Piper and Tigger down here. You figure with Piper, she's eating twice a day. Got to get up in the morning, feed her in the evening. Always got to clean up after them. They're always going to make messes. You're running through the house, picking them, taking them outside, giving them walks, things like that. So they can be kind of time intensive. Our snakes down here, I clean his enclosure probably once a week. Takes me 10-15 minutes to do. Like I said, I'm feeding them once a month or so, every 4 to 6 weeks, kind of depending on how he's taken. Even from a time perspective, snakes are really kind of low maintenance compared to a lot of other animals. That dog needs attention every day, and this snake right here will be perfectly fine being left alone for a few days. He's perfectly content after a meal to just lay there for a week, not be disturbed. You don't disturb him for a couple days afterwards anyway. So now you're going to have a little bit of expense getting started. You're going to have to upgrade enclosures and stuff like that. But if you're really excited about getting into reptiles and you really love the large constrictors and so forth, and you really want to start working with them, don't just drop the idea because you think they're going to be cost prohibitive. Do a little bit of research on your own, kind of price out the materials, if you've got carpentry skills and you can build your own stuff. And, you can go out and price some pre-made enclosures too. There's nothing wrong with them. Some of them are really great. And here at some point, I'm going to have some enclosure builders on the channel and kind of help them get their products out there, show people what some of the other options are for that, which will be really cool. And I'm going to start doing live streams on Saturdays as well. My goal is to get familiarized enough with the streaming software that I got, that I put on my computer here yesterday, to be able to make that thing sing and dance by Saturday, and want to try and shoot for my first live stream. I'll be advertising that probably tomorrow. If we in fact end up getting that scheduled, I'm going to do it. And then once I start that ball rolling, I'm going to start trying to do live streams every Saturday, get your guys' input and get some real-time conversations with you guys, and get some pretty cool guests on here too. So again, shame on you guys that thought I was going to be feeding the dog to the snake. That's just rude. You guys know me better than that. But I think it's a good comparison. For people that think these snakes are too expensive, you compare that to what it costs to keep your dogs and stuff like that. It's it's not as bad as you may think. So don't forget, guys, like the videos, get subscribed to the channel, and get notified when I put new stuff out. Get notified when live streams are coming out, because I'm really looking forward to getting that stuff started. And I will see you guys next time on Intrepid Exotics.